From the compilation of articles by Rabbi Michael-ben-Pesach, Portnaar, Descending or Falling. There are no falls in the spiritual. There is only descent for the sake of the rise. Descent is such a feeling that occurs when you rise to the next step. Rising is inside of one spiritual step, and descending is the result of a constructive spiritual action. When one rises to a new step, like an ibur, an offspring of the new higher step. You must understand that in reality, there are no spiritual falls. There are only various psychological, emotional, group-level falls that they experience there in that academy of Kabbalah, and there they can continue forever. But we're talking about spiritual rises and descents. Considering that the descent is spiritual, constructive, meaning a rise to the next step, and this, according to the law, there is only rise in the spiritual and no descents. Even a descent qualitatively means a rise. This is why the one who talks about falls concerning the spiritual does not understand the meaning of the mechanism of spiritual growth. Day by day we rise up higher, become better. And if you think differently, you are mistaken and are not busy with what you're studying in the Kabbalah. Whatever might your mood be tomorrow, happy or depressed, this does not make any difference in the spiritual advancement. Even when a person sins, he does not fall, as there are no falls in the individual spiritual work. The one who is sinning simply loses his precious time and energy on empty things. However, what is already corrected rises up and becomes his spiritual, eternal property. However, there are not individual falls. This is very important and very substantial, as this is the true understanding of the process of spiritual growth, instead of some childish group play in rises and falls. We will host a Congress, and there will have a rise, and after the Congress we will surely have a fall. This is nonsense. And this is all because during a Congress, that's to say a manifestation of group idiocy, they give up their unique soul to some group heresy, to some collective world kli that doesn't exist in the reality of the Creator. And of course, after such a Congress, the groupie comes back home, and then he remains with his own kelim, while all that nonsense that he sang, danced, drank, and used as the group kli is gone from him into non-existence. And then the klipot, the non-existence, prevail over him, and this causes him to fall, as he loses all that he unlawfully gained through those group tricks. So this is why, after returning from the Congress, all this emotional arousal is gone into klipot. This is called a fall, or better to say destructive devastation, when one gives away his creative power into klipot. When Zohar talks about the sins of the lower, it means, of course, not this kind of sin, but the unintentional sin, the undeliberate sin. In the spiritual, this applies to you and me and all those who study lishma, in the name. Zohar talks about accidental sin, as everyone can always make a mistake, can stumble. But then the light, which you received because of your correction of some spiritual step, only disappears from your perception. However, that is a benefit to you, as you have committed the unintentional sin. You feel that some part of your energy left you, a part of your perception of the eternity in your stage of the union with the Creator. At that point, you feel kind of an imbalance, and you're happy to experience it, as this state points you to the fact that you have sinned in something, and that you do not need to dig through that, which you have done. Because for the one who studies Kabbalah individually, lishma, such an inconvenient feeling appears very rapidly. As soon as you unintentionally sin, almost instantly you get corrected through suffering. That comes because the one who individually works on himself has a straight and very intense connection with the kav, the line of light. At that point, light turns its face up and away from you, and this feels in your kilim as darkness. This is why it is a benefit to you, as you understand that somewhere around here you have made a mistake. Maybe somewhere you looked passionately at something or someone, and that drained a portion of your energy. But coming to some congress, Yeshivat Chaverim, by your own will, where you give up your own unique kli to be torn apart by the group comprehension of kli that doesn't exist in the eyes of the Creator, this is a real intentional sin. Because you give up by your own will, your unique soul, to be torn apart by the klipa, the unclean power of the group. And then this is a real fall, a result of your receipt of some light that you don't receive into your own personal kelim. And so after such an event that is contradictory to the individual mechanism of working for the Creator, all this does not return to the head of Atik, as in the case with the unintentional sin. But this is considered an unintentional sin, for you give up all that you received into klipot. So again, this is considered an intentional sin, for you give up all that you received into klipot. And then the klipot take that emotional arousal, as there is no receiving of a spiritual glow at these gatherings, and leave the person in the dark. This is why the participants of these congresses acquire all kinds of manifestations of depression from which their similarly depressed friends must pull them out of. As a result, in many of them appears a suicidal syndrome. Just think how many of them committed a suicide. And I know what I'm saying. Does all of this have any relation to the spiritual growth? And so every year, by the means of these disseminations in all their world kli, are added more and more mentally ill people with various manic disorders, and the rate of accomplished suicides.